Hello and welcome once again to another episode of Mogobe of Wisdom podcast. It's year number 5 now, and we keep bringing you this powerful, life-changing content. We invite entrepreneurs of all stripes, like we like saying. And this time I have with me Mr. Joconia Malunga, and he'll introduce himself momentarily. But before he does, please just strike that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. It makes a huge difference if you do that, and unfortunately the majority of people watch us without subscribing. We would really love to turn you into a subscriber as well. And go ahead, Mr. Jacoma, welcome to the studio. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon,
Joconia Malunga.
I'm Joconia Malunga. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm a thought leader, and I believe I'm an inspiration to others who are out there and are dreaming of doing something different and touching lives and changing things for the better in our disruptive economic, social and cultural sphere as things stand. Yes.
I must say your shirt is very colorful, very impressive. Eh?
Thank you very much.
Share a little bit about your academic background.
I did economics and population studies, popularly known as geography at the University of Botswana. I followed that with a master's in business administration in 2015. And now I'm about to enroll. I've been accepted by the African Research University based in Zambia to further development studies, but specifically enterprise development, which is my passion.
You want to do PhD?
Yes, I'm going to do PhD.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about your pet project, which is Moody. First of all, how did the name come about, and what exactly is it?
Well, Moody means roots in the local language, which is Setswana. So the idea of Moody came about from the perspective that there is demand for international agency or international donor community, but specifically this time in terms of reforms and regulatory assistance. Because we know, maybe if I can go to the COVID-19 catastrophe, which impacted economies around the world, even those so-called developed economies, emerging economies, and our economy obviously is rated under the developing country economy. So Moody came about from an economic perspective of opportunity cost, because we know the cost of doing one thing or A against B obviously impacts our resources. So,
but in simple terms, what does Moody do?
In simple terms, Moody saves or screens reforms before they are implemented, so that you improve the chance of success of a reform or a project. Yes, sir.
So you say it's an innovation for citizen economic empowerment.
Yes, sir.
How so?
It's innovation for citizen economic empowerment, because we know resources are limited, but needs are obviously not limited or wants. So in terms of citizen economic empowerment, it's going to reduce the cost of doing business. So in that sense, it means you're going to have a lot more disposable income as an enterprise to do other things, to improve your operations and obviously improve your bottom line.
So what problem are we solving?
Here we are solving the problem of costs and risk. Yes. In terms of risk, we are saying, can we look at the way we craft or conceive reforms and regulations, so that from the onset there is a high probability for success.
Okay.
Yes.
And Moody is to be used by who?
Moody is to be used by regulators, by individual businesses, by development agencies, but by governments also. Yes.
And how does one access it?
Well, we have put it in a book format because it's a methodology. So
This is the book?
Yes, that's the book. We have put it in a book format because it's a methodology. What we did, we approached SIPA and asked them that we have an idea, a concept, and how do we get protection or copyright. So they advised, put it in a book format so that you can get copyright. So you can get it in a book format, but also we are busy developing an app for it so you can access it digitally.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You talk of dramatic regulatory reform failures. Can you give one or two examples?
Well, without getting myself into trouble, maybe I can just quote something that everyone can relate to. The recent issue of the Lerumo overhead bridge. Yeah, I think it was opened in quite a short period of time, 6 months or so. Then there were torrential rains, which most people, in terms of their perspective, thought they shouldn't have caused any damage somehow. But there was a collapse of part of the bridge. So
Just a small portion.
yeah, it was a small
Some
portion.
soil or something. Yeah.
But it's costly in terms of business and economics. It's costly. So I thought it's one to go.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Moody would have helped how?
Moody would have helped in terms of doing estimates or strength testing the milestones for that project to see whether all the elements of the project would be followed or were being followed properly, so that you reduce the risk of damage or collapse or any kind of underhand methods in terms of checks and balances. So yes, it would have applied in that instance.
And you say the idea was sparked by some of your research you did with the OECD. So what's OECD countries? What are their findings about this?
Well, in terms of reforms in general terms, that can also relate to the World Bank, I think, because the OECD and the World Bank are the most active agencies in the world, as you know. So if we relate it to the OECD, they are the ones for over 50 years now who are known for good regulatory practices. So on the basis of that, you can't create an invention that's economic or statistical based without really basing it on what's already existing. So in essence, this is based on the law of demand and resource-based theory. Because we are saying if there is success of projects and reforms or regulations, then it means the risk has to be lower in the cost. So that's why enterprise development and
yeah.
Yes.
You have a pictorial representation in that T-shirt
Yes,
of
yes.
Moody. Can you take us through it?
Yes. As things stand, as you can see here, one of my friends has said, maybe I'm bringing back the scramble for Africa concept, which really is far from this, but in any case, anyone can think their own way, but in the end, it is what it is. So here we are, it could be any country. It could be Zambia, Namibia, or South Africa. So here Moody, as it is, means root. So a tree is nourished from the root.
Yes.
Yes. So whatever gets in should be what we need it to nourish the tree, right? So here we have Botswana. So we have a plethora of reforms and whatever comes from the donor regulations and regulatory bodies to influence our development agendas, right? So here Moody acts as a sieve now to say what do we need to get in. Should we stop allowing wholesale importation of reforms that are out of context for our country? So it could be Zambia, like I say, Zimbabwe, or any other country, or any Asian. So this is what it is. So the zebra, is our national, is one of our national symbol animals, right? Yeah, it's almost there in all our currencies. So here we have a small zebra that are drinking from a pond, then growing. Then you have the bigger zebra. So this means it's enterprise development. Conceptually, it's an analogy.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have to let in what can grow our enterprises, and only let in the most premium. So that's what Moody says. Let's screen. Let's get it better. Let's get success rates from the onset. So what happens there within the book? There are 3 stages there. You have the first stage where you strength test the reforms from the milestones. If it's a regulator, you can test from the milestones, even if it's a private company. Then you have the probability of a reform occurring. So then you have categories from 0 to 100%. So from stage 1, whatever percentage you are getting or score, we can now plot it where it falls. Suppose it's 50%, we plot it there, we can see the cost is their average, then the rating will be average, so the risk will be average. But supposing it's 20%, obviously it means the risk is high, the cost is high. Obviously the score is low. So there's correlation there between those three indicators.
So let me then understand where we're getting it wrong. The Bretton Woods organizations have for the longest time been accused of bringing things like structural adjustment in Africa, which have not worked. In other words, things were lost in translation or something.
Yes.
Are you saying Moody will address that?
Well, let me not claim that it will address every problem, but let me just state that it's going to at least solve some of the problems. One of the things with the concept, obviously, is that it's conceived here in Botswana, which means its basis is in an African setup, also which applies to Asian emerging economies and developing countries in Asia. So in essence, you find that the bulk of the countries where the failure is projected or highly or significantly, it's in the developing and emerging countries. So in saying that, it means that when World Bank or African Development Bank or the other financing institutions give us that loan, that loan, there's always a caveat to that. So it means, yes, so there's always a caveat to that. There are conditions laid to credit, for instance, and such related issues. So, which means if we can calculate and estimate our probabilities for success, it means then we can show cause why we should be rated better and why we should be getting the monies at lower rates, for instance. Because it's about risk, but also it's about foreign development investment, foreign direct investment, sorry about that. So that means you can bring in agencies like the promotional investment project, like your BITCs and such, so that you can improve the environment generally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at Botswana as a country generally, where did we get it wrong to make it necessary for this sort of intervention?
Well, I think I would say, you have the national development plans, then you have your budget speech, then you have your SONA, then you have the other side of the coin, which is the development partners and the credit. So in that instance, I think we need to bring some signage to that, so that all these development agendas speak to each other. So that when we do look at maybe a National Development Plan 12, for instance, and say, what are we planning to do, what haven't we done well, we can have a reference point. Yes.
And we have institutions such as BITPA, which are think tanks which are supposed to address such issues. First of all, are they not supposed to address such issues? And are they doing a good job of it?
They're supposed to address such issues, and they are doing a good job. What we need to understand about MOD is that it's an instrument that can be applied across sectors, across a multiple of industries, but it doesn't play down the role of the development institutions that are in place in whatever context. But it's a tool that they can apply, that they can use, that brings predictability, that brings a reference point, because there is none right now. There is none. Yes.
So there's a gaping hole.
There is a gaping hole there, so it's there to be filled, and we took the opportunity.
And you say COVID has really exposed some of these problems. How so?
COVID has exposed some of these issues in
You
the
say they've
sense.
thrown them into the spotlight.
Yes, indeed. So let's look at the regulations that were before COVID for any kind of sector, and then the regulations that were crafted for to arrest the COVID situation, and then post-COVID, right? So if you look at it, there should have been a marriage for the three levels, but none happened. We got on business as usual afterwards. So that really exposed a lot of loopholes within the economic sphere and landscape. Also from a corporate governance point of view.
Can you give examples?
Well, it is what it is. We had the working from home arrangement, right, which was brought on by COVID. Then we had companies operating with half staff, or whatever we can denote. But now the switch back, when we went back into full operational, one of the things that one would have hoped for was to say, because we are saying we are transformational, because we are aspiring for that high income, we should have switched on whoever couldn't jump on the train post-COVID when we opened, so that everyone gets on the digital train. But we didn't, we lost that moment. That's my example. Yeah, we lost that opportunity to say, if you can't jump on, you'll find us on the way. Yes.
Is it too late?
Well, it's not too late if we revise or reform some of the functions of our institutions. Yeah, because I mean, like for instance, one would take maybe BES or SIPA. For instance, with BES, there was a reform to say let's submit online returns, right? Which reduced the queues, obviously, which is a good thing. But post that, we haven't seen any SNAP surveys which say what's the uptake and within which demographics. Because it's possible that the uptake could be higher for the young generation of company owners for the startups, but it could be low for the older generation who are still stuck with the paper kind of administration, who are still stuck with the paper kind of bank statement. Yeah.
Explain to me a reforms clearinghouse.
Right now, as things stand, there is the issue of unemployment in general terms, but also this is looking at the youth population. So we think if we create, maybe in collaboration, maybe with the Minister of Youth, for instance, if we create the reforms, a clearinghouse, there's possibility to augment job creation for the youth. What we'll do is to say, a youth in Totomo with some aptitude of maths and statistics can be taken through a master class to grasp the essence of the tool. And then they can recruit companies in their locality without moving, without incurring costs, companies with an appetite to use the tool. So the benefit for the youth is the jobs. The benefit for government and the ministries, obviously the lessening of the burden. And then obviously for the companies, the bottom line increases. Because obviously with whatever they are doing, it means the risk and the cost can be reduced.
Often you find one law being amended, and then after it's amended, it conflicts with other existing laws, and then leads to some form of paralysis in terms of implementation. Can Moody help avoid that?
Yes, it can, because here what we are saying is that we can look at milestones. So milestones allow you to see what projects are in place and the timelines also. So in terms of the regulatory space and the legal systems, obviously there is some kind of slowness in terms of the outcomes and the time frame. So it's possible that a law that's crafted now could come up maybe 2 years, 3 years later. The dynamics and the environments change in terms of the market. So also there is a lot of players trying to do something within the system. So with Moody, you can actually have a digital space where there is some kind of single window where one can see who is doing what, where, and how they synergize. Yeah.
It's a very interesting concept. What led you to think, what triggered you personally to say, let me do something? How did the evolution of the idea occur?
Well, there's a couple of things, but one of the things that are there is obviously that, I'm with government, right? I'm with the Ministry of Trade. But there's this creative work, but also it's research. So at some point, I wanted to enroll through uni for the doctoral studies. So I was trying to look for something that makes sense to the economy, to my employer, to myself as a citizen, a responsible citizen, but also the clarion call to create employment. So as a serial publisher, 10 books now with Modi, and also obviously as a thought leader, I thought, what gap needs to be closed that can take care of many things at once? Then I thought, let's work on reforms. And then let's create a sieve, something that's never been done. So that's why the screening model. Yes.
And the index ranker, Modi index ranker?
Well, that one I think is going to excite a lot of people.
Tell me about that one.
So here we are. We have our localities, right? Then we have the census every 10 years, right? So within the report that comes from the census is that 1 to 82 villages are shown in terms of their populations. So I looked at the census, the last census report. So there are 82 villages covered, right? So the ranking is according to the populations. So obviously in this instance, you'd have your Gaborone and Francistown, your bigger villages like Maung, Molepolole, and Serowe, right? So in that, almost in that chronology. So, but then in terms of the supportive environment for enterprises, obviously there's going to be a differential. Because remember, knowledge-intensive business services locate where the numbers make sense. Yes, so I thought, well, there's the World Bank with the doing business rankings, but locally there is no ranking index. So that's how I created that. I said, let's look at indicators that can influence the nourishment and the survival of businesses. Then I created 4 indicators, then I created an index, then it can be done.
What are those principal indicators?
Well, more or less, there is the finance aspect, more or less.
Earning capacity.
And the earning capacity, and also there is the cultural aspect. You know, the cultural aspect is something that most studies are not taking care of. You know, we are known to be a conservative, laid-back nation, so I took that into account and said, but even if that's a moderative aspect, if you are in Tsau and in Gaborone, it can be the same. Even if you are tagged more conservative nation, I can't be as conservative as a guy in Tsau. So there is always going to be that differential. So how does it come into play in terms of gaps being better and Palape not being better? But then there is also a twist to this. Recently we have seen Palape booming in terms of property growth.
Many malls.
Yeah, many malls there. So that's an effect also there. That's something that's different in terms of how the rankings will be and the indicators. Because we have that from a production and from a development point of view, that's going to affect. So the point is, if we had the same growth as in Palape, would we have businesses located to Tsau or Mohembo or wherever? So that's what the ranker says. So we're going to pit villages against each other. Everyone would want to see themselves ranking tops. But the fact is that the population is always a core to locate. So Gaborone, Francistown, Palape, Maung are always going to have.
So you mentioned in terms of the categories you look at, one is obviously culture, and you also mentioned the economic situation.
The economic situation.
What are the other two?
Well, here you can also look at the placement or location of knowledge-intensive business services, like your legal, your lawyers, like your consultants. They are bound to be more located in the cities.
So have you been able to grade Everything, including the 82 villages.
I graded the 82 villages that are within the population consensus for the last census.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
And how optimistic or pessimistic are you at the end of the grading?
Well, I think it's going to go contextually more than anything else, because it's a fact that the cities are always going to have the advantage, because one of the things is the migration issue. So we're always going to be moving to the cities, so that already gives them the edge. So you're bound to see Palape, your Mahalape growing more than the other areas, your Tabong, because of the population issue, and also of course of the amenities. We forgot the amenities.
One of the
one of the yes.
I need to ask you something here, a little bit outside the box. In America, we have Democrats and we have Republicans. There's always been a pattern. The Republicans come and destroy all the regulations. The Democrats come and they impose regulations.
Yes.
In fact, Donald Trump was very proud of banning up such a huge number of regulations. Is it come to a point where we have to just think in terms of deregulating at some point to make business easier, to make things easier?
It's happening also. It's happening. It's a big movement. It would be a really, really welcome movement in terms of if we could deregulate.
So are we overregulated?
Generally, developing countries are over-regulated. Let me not state forward,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be in trouble.
Yeah. So we need to really deregulate.
We need to deregulate, because in that sense, there will be predictability in terms of our systems, in terms of our operations. Because a potential investor sitting in Estonia or Mozambique looks at these ratings reports, just as Moody, we've been talking about the Moody ranker. So if we deregulate, it's one of the good regulatory.
I'm asking you this because personally, as a developer, I've been trying to get approvals for certain multi-story development, and it's been going on for 3 years now. Even now, they say they want to make more changes. It keeps going back and forth, back and forth. That's why I'm asking you that. Is it now, we're so over-regulated now, it's hindering business?
Yes, definitely. I mean, like, because we like to talk about COVID, obviously, we can't avoid that topic. Post-COVID, one would have hoped that there is less bureaucratic activity. So, well, I can't say it's still there in a big way, but there is movement because government saying let's transform. There is also movement because
government says we should rethink. We should have a reset.
Government says let's reset, and it's time to reset. One of the things to reset is to align our systems, right? And also to create value chains. But if you want to partner, for instance, from a shaper point of view, from the designations of the type of businesses, a guy sitting in Estonia or Mozambique would want to know how easy it is to do business, how easy it is to do business across borders, trade across borders, your connections, your electricity connection, getting credit, all those indicators. So it would be unfortunate if we moved in the same way, business as usual. One hopes that there will be a change.
Now, since HE introduced the reset agenda in the last 2 years, has there been any noticeable change? Is there any reset taking place?
There is reset. The problem is that with this kind of things, it takes time for them to manifest themselves. So again, without...
Isn't there some low-hanging fruit where we can say, yeah, it's happening?
There should be low-hanging fruit, especially maybe with your immigration type of thing. So we have seen maybe, I don't know whether to quote this one, because it's happened in between time, the Oman issue. Now they stopped to also do it with Zimbabwe. So, but then again,
there's talk of now using Oman to cross, like we've done in Namibia for over a year now.
And it's working, it seems to be working.
So people are saying with Zimbabwe, they say, wait a minute. Why with Zimbabwe there's hesitation?
Well, it's because of the geopolitical activity right now,
Yeah.
which is making people uncomfortable. But it is what it is. There will be improvement.
You don't think we should try it with South Africa first before we go to Zimbabwe?
But there is also the element, that side of xenophobia and all that. So maybe there could be a spillover still on this side.
Let's talk about digitization of Moody. Tell me how that process can unfold.
Well, as it is, it's hard to know who's doing what where somehow. Well, there's the private sector, there's the civil society, there's the development partners, there's government, and there's other stakeholders in between. But if you digitize, you are bringing a predictable reference point where everyone can load in whatever they're doing, so we can follow up, we can align, we can bring some signage. So the digitization can come in the sense that, now we all have 3 or 4 phones. Some of them we don't use, but so you can actually give one of them that you can give yourself the opportunity to use one of your gadgets for Moody. In the sense that you can follow the reforms that are there.
How would that work?
It would work in the sense that it would be subscription based, right? So that we're able to run it, to operate it obviously efficiently. So in terms of what's placed there, you can have regulators subscribing to advertise the reforms, which hopefully most of them would have gone through the Moody
platform.
Yeah, the Moody platform, so that we only take the reforms there that make sense, that are implementable, that also obviously have some sense of.
Is Moody capable of becoming an app?
Yes, it's definitely moving in direction. We're actually working on an app for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or you have some software engineers on it?
Yes, we have some people working on it right now. It makes sense actually. It's a sensible gravitation, because we're all trying to move away from paper to being paperless. So it's easier to be on the go and to also be engaged.
And when you say it's a key to the financial and labor markets, how do you mean?
Well, it's a key because it's going to bring predictability. When you go to the development finance institutions, obviously they have a criteria where they screen and say, okay, your risk aversion is so high, whatever.
They check with
credit
bureaus.
Yes, they check with credit bureaus, whatever. So we anticipate that at some point we would have had such linkages with international agencies to have also that credible image for these institutions to be able to trust our system and our methodology as something substantive to help them just reduce the process from that side. When they get someone with a Moody certified application, it should be quicker, time saving, less risk, and money.
How do you interface and work with GovTech?
Well, as an international organization, my hope, because I read online, I followed their surveys, their research, because obviously it's very interesting for what we are doing also. What we want to do maybe is to eventually apply to be part of their agenda.
Because they talk of GovTech Global Partnership.
Yes.
GovTech 12, golden opportunity for developing countries.
Yes.
Simplify that for us.
Like the way we see it, I think that's why we quoted it. It's the way they see it, because Moody and then developing countries, especially I refer to Africa. There's some kind of trap again, like I said, scramble for Africa. Like we are caught up in a continuous vicious cycle where we can't get ourselves out. You remember there was an issue with Zambia that the Chinese government was.
Under the previous regime.
Under the previous regime.
That was becoming a province of China.
Yeah, so
that's what I used to read.
Yeah, so something like that. I think even if I can't claim now that Moody would help at that level, but some semblance of predictability and stability, and yes, and trust to say, well, your systems are okay, but can we improve in this sense because there will be a reference to.
Moody is no longer just a one-man show, right?
It can't be, it will never be. Now,
what is the position now? Because you're going to brand Botswana and everything. How big is it becoming?
I can't say it's scaring me, but well, it's exciting. Well, I've been to Brand Botswana. They invited me for the workshop to use the brand mark, which I got, which is really nice. I also got assistance from SIPA. I have the copyrights, and I'm about to trademark. Well, there's a lot of organizations interested in using the tool. And there's also outside interest, or obviously from the Europeans, to just probably talk about collaborations now and in the future and see how we can get into it.
Do you have a firm model on how the subscription-based system is going to work? Do you have a firm idea, the rates, how you charge, etc.? Well,
at this point in time, we are not that far, but we have a good idea, a basis to move in that direction.
So it's not monetizable?
It's monetizable.
Yet, at this point?
No, we see the monetization there, but we haven't really gotten deep into it because we're still trying to.
So what's the plan? Now that we have Brand Botswana, how is it going to work going forward?
The plan, in a big way, which we hope they will come to the point, is that we have Global Expo under BITC. So that's a big market already. So our hope is that we have the SME players wanting to link with the Global Expo investors who are in the database of BITC. So we think in that sense we could come in there and play a good role in terms of saying, let's certify the SME to link with BITC, to link with the Global Expo potential investor. Because that gap is there, it's not being used right now.
Yeah. So in its crudest form, Moody, if it's working, you should be able to identify a village and then go through the Moody platform and be able to determine the key metrics and the ratings.
Yes, you should be able to.
And when is that going to happen?
It's happened already because we actually have a report. The first report of its kind, it's there already.
What does it
published.
say? Okay.
Yes.
It's published where?
We published it with Natis Media.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, since this is a new thing, what would you say are the biggest pain points at this point?
For the application,
yes,
or to integrate it?
Those 2 points.
Well, for the application, it's exciting, it's youth-centric, it's got a market ready out there. Yeah, that's what excites me, because we can help create jobs. For instance, we can talk to the Minister of Youth to have youth hubs, to go through master classes, to recruit companies interested in using the platform, right? And then on the other side, we should be getting some traction because it's fresh, it's new, it's speaking loudly, saying created in Botswana, proudly Botswana. So we must get some business. We should get some business by all means. I hope from here we'll be getting calls to say, can we talk? Can we invest in that? Can we move faster in terms of the digital space?
Okay.
Yes.
One of the things you mentioned in passing is that you may even deal with the problem of African time. You know, this I don't know, this idea that things that go slow and we are not bothered. How are you addressing that one?
Yes, I think as I already gave an example of us being laid back, conservative. So a Motswana like myself, being gaps, obviously I can't be slow, as I'm not saying in a derogative way. Someone in a village, obviously they'll be slower than me, obviously, because
it depends what you're doing.
It depends.
If it's a matter of dealing with cattle, they're fast. Milking the cow, they'll do it in a jiffy. You will struggle.
Yes, but so in essence, because you are bringing me to a good point, the fact is that when we improve the systems, when we become predictable, we can have, if we take a village setup, we have the farmers, right? They have the produce they have, right? So we can actually design something that grades, so that when the farm produce reaches your retailers, your choppies, your Sofalan and others, you already have the advantage of having gone through a systematic way of looking at the freshness and whatever the shelf life, you can predict and do all those things. So I think it's going to help us switch on a bit. There is also the issue of us, when it gets dark, we go to sleep. So it's African time also. Because in other jurisdictions, it's actually 24 hours. Because I've been to China a couple of times. They work hard, they don't sleep, and everyone just focus on the goal that gets done. Yes, sir.
Now, you gave the example of Oman and so on, but you recognize the need to modernize government operations.
Yes.
And then government will always say that anything to do with them has to go to tender. How is this going to go through those hurdles?
Well, I think that's a commercial aspect there, in the sense that, you know, when you make things hard to operate like businesses, obviously you are eating on the bottom line of businesses, especially in this instance, the small medium enterprises and startups. So I think there is ways where you can talk to business advocacy organizations like your BEMA, like your Business Botswana, and other associations, probably to motivate something to say, can we work and work this way, looking at the reset agenda also. Because now at least there is backup to quote the president and the reset agenda. To say, guys, let's wake up, let's think differently.
Reset.
Yes, let's
In fact, now he even says hashtag are changing. They've taken Ratzia's stuff as
which is good also, which is not a bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
So really, in coming here, what do you want entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs who watch this show, what is the takeaway? What do you want them to leave understanding after this conversation?
It's a global village now. That's the first thing. So being a global village means global interlinks, global international relations, and also it means there is harmonization, or there is attempt to harmonize systems. You know, you have Botswana being part of the Commonwealth, being part of SACU, SADC, whatever. So the message is that with Modi, and hopefully it gets into SADC, SACU, and the international setup or landscape, it means that once we help things here, the systems, it can really just go on and make things easier globally. So the point here for entrepreneurs, enterprises, is that you can trade globally, get Moody, learn something, get something, move, and improve your bottom line. Yes.
But if a skeptical businessman says, but there's no proof of concept, or there's no provable traction, what would you say?
I would say try it. It's based on models that are the resource-based theory.
So there's still no proof of concept?
No, there is proof of concept.
Yeah, that's what I want you to address.
Oh, okay. No, well, it's actually, that's what's nice about it, because it's fresh, it's created here. It's addressing the contextual loopholes that are there in terms of wholesome importation of reforms that are not going to build and take and make traction. So everything has a trial error, everything has a pilot period. We have piloted, we have snap surveyed, and we have some kind of traction in terms of already having institutions interested in applying the tool.
Yeah, and you have the blessings of BITC as well.
and other institutions, yes.
Such as which ones?
Others are interested. Some are private companies out there. And not only actually from the business point of view, the hardcore, the hard the hard retail kind of, but also from the creative side of things. We have actually tested it with the artists and creatives, like studios, to help them just to analyze their rates and their operations, how they could improve. So it's got quite a huge traction. Yeah.
And this M20 test, how did you apply it? Or what is the M20 test?
M20 test is Modi strength testing. So we said M20 because it's 4 indicators adding to 20, the total, right?
How do you go from 4 to 20?
It's
multiply by 5.
By 5, yes. Then you get your
How
20.
so? Explain in simple terms.
So you have 4 indicators. So when you rate or score, you always want the highest score. So if you get 18 out of 20, it means you're going to probably be on 96, 94%, which means your score is nice and well packaged, so you can move to phase 2, which is the probability of reform occurring. So we take you that 94, then we place it within the categories, then it's going to show your level of cost, your risk, and rank.
I still don't know how it goes from 4 to 20. Maybe I'm slow.
No, you're not slow. Well, from 4 indicators, it means you have the 4 indicators, so it's perceptive. It's based on perception. So we're going to say, let's take Mogobe, for instance, as a sample. Mogobe Nuggets as a sample. So we're going to sit with management, right, and apply the indicators from a perceptive point of view. So we're going to have a moderator sitting there, someone not from home, to give that perception on the 4 indicators. Then we're scoring, right? We're scoring, you get in 10 out of 20, so that's 50%. So then we are going to, remember it's perceptive. So then we place you now on the PORO scale to see where you are at. Then we move you now to the
PRO stands for?
Probability of reform occurrence. Yes.
And then you move on to?
Then you move to the mapping framework now, to say that with your score, where you at, how are you impacting others down the line, down the value chain? Yes, because we must remember, we have 4 axes generally speaking. We have government, we have development partners, we have the private sector, then you have individuals or civil society. So they must work in tandem.
Yes.
So Moody helps you from A to B. We can show what it before and after. It's like going to a salon for a cut. So we can show Mr. Mogobe
take those pictures, yes.
Yes.
This is very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. So has there been any resistance? And if so, where is it coming from?
Well, let me not say resistance as such. Maybe it's just that belief in our fellow countrymen is always poor. Until you break through, that's when people will be like, this guy or this lady. So from that perspective, most people still can't believe this is happening.
There's too much skepticism.
There is too much skepticism when it's something created locally, when it's something invented locally. We don't believe in our own until we bring someone to face up, and that's when we would believe that it's going to.
But you are going to overcome that.
It's overcome on Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. It's a big one. I'm here. It's a big one already.
Yes. So you're going places.
It's a big one.
Okay. Now, when it's all said and done, how is success going to look like? Let's say if you're going to project 10, 15, 20 years, what do you see in the future?
Well, success would probably be looked at from maybe 2 factors. I think employment obviously is a very big issue, and also obviously the regulatory landscape. So in this instance, success is going to be youth in Botswana, most importantly, being self-employed through Moodipreneurs. Yes, this will be hubs in the villages, in the localities, actually doing the rankings within the villages, reporting, like something robust and nice and exciting and digitally done. That's one aspect. Obviously, government and ourselves are worried. Youth are home. Like my kids also, 2 of them are home. There is no employment even with that.
They should work for Moody.
Yes, but they are now. But I mean, in the bigger picture of things, from the other side, one would have hoped they get something, but there is nothing. So we are creating something for them. So they'll be leading this more or less. And then the other aspect is an improved doing business environment. It's totally those two.
Yeah. Countries which don't have Moody but have something comparable are like Western countries, right?
Yes.
Do they have an equivalent to Moody already?
Currently, nothing in the sense, in the way the concept is designed. But there may be other methods and approaches, obviously. Yes, but you have your regulatory impact assessment, your root cause analysis, your content analysis from economics point of view, but maybe not in the same way that we couch them. Yeah, maybe not.
Okay, there's an issue which bothered me a lot. Every time they do this International Happiness Index assessment, we're always in the bottom. In fact, there was a time when we were the last but 3 saddest countries in the world. To what extent is this result coming from wrong methodology or measurement systems, and to what extent is it a real problem we should be concerned about?
I think we should be concerned, obviously, because a happy workforce delivers the result and productivity increases. Studies have shown that, or they have said that. Maybe the other thing also could be maybe the approach. We are not sure how the approach is, the methodology, in terms of the cultural differences, the context and such. So it's possible that we are more of a, what we call a large family, what we call against individualistic, more or less society.
We're more of nuclear family.
Nuclear
even extended family.
We are more of extended family. So I think the culture, the socialization, and obviously a lot is going to influence how we respond to this coefficient and index measurements. But more or less, there must be a moderation. There must be a moderating factor.
Because we've talked about it, me and Mr. Kangonyani of Inolid, we discuss this every year when we have a chance. And we always say, how come we're never called? How happy are we? Nobody ever asks. And none of our relatives, I remember none of our relatives have ever received a call saying, somebody called to say how happy I am. So we wonder, have you been called?
No, I haven't been called, but it could be.
Have people around you been called?
No, maybe it could be.
Have you met somebody who's been called?
No, I haven't.
So how do these reports come out every year after year? We are the unhappiest people, and you and I are busy laughing. Are we unhappy?
We are not unhappy.
Yeah, so maybe, why are we graded as the unhappiest people in the world?
Maybe it could be a lot of factors. One of them could be maybe the sampling method. Maybe there are sampling.
It's been persistent.
Maybe there are sampling people in the city. You know, in the city has
when you are laughing like this, somebody say, but you're supposed to be unhappy. Why you seem to be happy? You're supposed to be terribly unhappy. According to the world.
But it would be interesting also to what the outcome will be if they sampled in the villages. But mostly, you know, the rating agencies mostly sample in the cities.
Oh, I see.
Even for doing business, even for World Economic Forum, even for the Human Resources Index, they are done in the city. So you are bound to really have.
I'm not saying we should take it lightly, but I'm just saying, why is it that we don't hear about it? It's still coming, the happiness report, World Happiness Report, we're terrible, we're at the lowest. Can Moody help deal with such issues in somehow?
I think once the organizations come to know about the tool, it's possible to collaborate with them and say what can we improve in terms of the contextual approach rather than generalizing.
Yeah.
Yes, because there is a problem with that, because it really should be about the people and society, not the technology. So yeah.
Talk to the viewers about the book and explain where they can get it. And first of all, what enlightenment will they get from the book, and where can they get it?
Well, in terms of getting it, we're going to get it into the bookstores, because as a government employee, I can't sell directly. That will be conflict of interest.
Okay.
So I've been advised to take it to the bookstores. Then in terms of the context, as an individual or a company or organization or development partner or government institution for that matter, especially state-owned enterprises, you can apply this tool. You can use this tool to improve the systems. Yeah. And then in terms of the learnings and the opportunities for anyone, you can talk to us, get the book, create your Moodpreneur hub. From today, Moodpreneur. So we help you, we assisting you, facilitating you to create your little hub wherever you are, so that you can talk to the businesses within your locality, how they can improve their systems and their bottom line. Yeah. So in terms of contact, it's on 717680049. That's an app number also that you can call on that one. Then in terms of Facebook, you can check for Moody. Moody page or Zwakala brand page, then you can find us there.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Zwakala.
Yes, sir.
Why such a name?
Because it's common in the African.
Yeah, it means come
Yeah,
here.
it means come here. So we say, how can we help our enterprises reach the corporate and development partners? Then you say Zwakala. That's interface.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. As we wrap up, would you happen to have a question for me?
Well, a question, maybe not necessarily a question, but a comment to say, I've watched some of the episodes, and I feel like if they reach the audiences that are targeted for Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast would make a greater impact, as it's making a greater impact already. And then the other thing is that, I mean, you are giving us ordinary guys an opportunity to appear and reach people like that. It doesn't happen easily in Botswana. Yeah, it doesn't. So I'm grateful, I'm happy, totally happy. I hope we'll collaborate on this.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. We'll find ways to collaborate. Already we are collaborating.
Already, yes.
Yeah. Now, as we conclude, I want you to look at this camera and talk to the viewer there and leave them with an uplifting final message.
Well, as things stand, I had this opportunity from Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast to also showcase my creativity and my invention, which is Moody. So you at home also, wherever you are, small business startup, you can do it also. Take heart, reach out and get help. We can make a difference. Get Moody, let's get Moody.
Okay. Share with them all your contact details. Some of them may even want to buy the t-shirt. Tell them what to do to get in touch.
You can call me on 717680049, or look for Moody page on Facebook, or look for Zwakala brand page on Facebook. Initially, we didn't want to get into merchandising, but with a lot of requests for this beautiful t-shirt, we have been urged to sell. So you can get yourself this t-shirt at $150. Nice quality. It's summer. There's shorts also for ladies. There's all kinds of merchandise. So you can get yourself some. Look out for our promotions on Facebook. You can get yourself some free merchandise.
Okay. All right. You've shared all the contacts?
Yes, sir.
Including WhatsApp?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you, sir. Thank you. Have a